Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week. Oh, yeah. Let's wait for Sai to get on here. How has everyone's week been so far? How are y'all doing? Are we ready for the weekend? Are we ready for the Olympics? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, you guys. I just love the Olympics. I do. I get lost in it. Here he is. Oh, wait. Yes. Hey, come back. Gymnastics, yes. Oh my gosh. Wait, did that not go through?
Hello. Oh my God, yes.
Yes, we're good. We are good today.
Okay, time to look for my filter for the week.
I love it. Oops. How is everyone?
Oh my God, speaking of Olympics, I'm so excited to watch gymnastics. Go
Me
Simone
too.
Biles.
So excited. Oh my gosh. We're like...
Hey, Angie.
So Mr. Unrooted Love is a huge track and field guy. He ran track in high school, and so we definitely get sucked into that the last couple days. But I'm excited. Anybody else get excited about equestrian? Or is that just me?
I mean, I love watching it. I feel like the equestrian outfits are one of the sexiest, to be honest.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Oh my God. MTW .tfss. I don't know what the Shrek filter is, but sounds epic. I can't blame you.
Oh my God, she's funny. That's my sister. All right, you guys. Well, welcome to another episode of Planted with Kay and Sai. If you're new here, I'm Kay. I am the plant enthusiast and collector behind Unrooted Love.
And I'm Cyril. I'm also the creator behind Cyril Cybernated. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome, everyone. So if you guys caught my stories earlier today, you'll know that, we are not going to be as structured for this episode just because last week we had a lot of fun being super interactive with you guys and just kind of making it a plant hang. So I think that's what we're going to do today. And just kind of let loose, and just do a plant hang with a live Q&A. We've got some questions that were submitted earlier that we're going to tackle first, just to get everybody warmed up, get your questions lined up. I do have one request, please. And it's, if you guys have a question that you want us to discuss, down at the bottom, you'll see a thought bubble with a question mark. I tested this today and I really like this function. If you submit your questions there, what I can do then is pop it up and then have it pinned so that if, newcomers come in the middle of a conversation, they'll know what we're talking about. And also it helps us kind of keep track of the questions and they don't get lost in the comments. Because I know you guys love to chat with each other in here and I am all about it. But we also don't want to miss your questions. So if you have any questions at all, go ahead and just put it in that thought bubble. And if anybody else, if you see someone's, dropping questions in there, if you could just type in there, give them a little, hey, they might have missed the opening introductions, let's call it. But just let them know, like, hey, submit that into the thought bubble so that they'll actually see it. But yeah, we would really appreciate that because we want to get through everyone's questions tonight. And we want to make this fun and interactive. Let's keep that energy from last week and roll it into this week. I love it. So before we start, Sai, let me ask you, how's your week going? Are you good?
It was kind of busy at work. Weather-wise, we've been kind of like gloomy here, which is good for a change because we could really need all the moisture that we could get with all the forest fires going on. So
yeah, totally.
Still, it was overall good. How is it going over there?
It's going great. We've just been really chill. Here too, for some reason, it's been just a little gloomy. We've had, scattered showers here and there, but our summers are very
Mm.
moist. They're very humid, and because we're in an area where we get a lot of hurricanes, we just see a lot of rainfall. So
Mm.
forest fires aren't really an issue for us here. But I do like the rain because it helps kind of bring the temp down a little for us and kind of cools it down,
Yeah.
to the point where I had to wear a sweater in the house. But I had to wear a sweater this
Ooh.
week because
Wow.
I got a little chilly. Yeah, it was weird. And I also filled up my big, how many gallons is that? You know, the Lowe's bucket. I filled that up. And so now all of my
Mm.
pigs back here have fresh water to drink. So it's good. It's been a good week so far. And I'm excited for the weekend.
Oh my.
We've got some fun stuff planned with the kids. So I'm excited about that. So shall we hit these questions that our plant pals sent us in stories first, and then we'll start knocking out the ones here on live?
Yes. Hello to some familiar faces. Hi,
Yes.
Jen
Hello,
Estrada.
hello.
Hi, Daddy Longleaves. So
That's
yeah, we
not
do
that's
like
not Daddy
most.
Longleaf's name anymore. It's
No.
Capillary
Okay. So we're
Action.
gonna call him Capillary
Capillary Action.
Action. Yes.
That is your new name. All right. So at Al Morris 1234 submitted a question, and it was best advice
Mm-hmm.
for moving a Hoya to Lekka. First time Hoya mom over here. So we touched on this quite a bit in one of our previous episodes, but just
Mm-hmm.
so if you want a thorough answer, check that episode out. But just real quick, one of the most important things is just to wash the roots completely of all organic media, so that you don't encourage any type of fungal or bacterial growth, which then will encourage infection. So, just rinse those roots off as well as you can, get it settled into the pond, and then just monitor. It's very normal to see older roots shed, but as long as your plant continues to grow and you're seeing new roots growing, it's perfectly fine. Just do your flushes. Everything will be okay. And then your plant will start growing. It'll all be good. So, do you have anything to add? Because I know you've converted quite a few, haven't you?
Yeah, in my experience, you just really need to monitor it between probably like 2 to 3 weeks up to a maximum of like 6 months. Because like I did it in the past, I didn't wash up all the soil or the organic media off. And some plants would do okay, but after like the season changes, that's when it starts to act up. So just do your thorough washing, and then also you have to wash the leca and the balls, and then just keep on monitoring it, and it should be okay. And you'll really know once you try it. So you learn as you go.
Yeah, I think, one of my favorite things to tell anybody who asks about like plant care is just be intuitive. We have to step away from this mechanical style of growing where you stick to a schedule and you water pick whatever day of the week, and that's your watering day.
Yeah.
But when you become more intuitive and you take cues from your plants and you see what they need and you understand what they need, then, things just make sense. It makes so much more sense. And I think a lot of that plant care stress then just starts to disappear because you're able to communicate between you and your plant on what it needs. So yeah, let me step down from my soapbox now, you guys.
Okay, I'm going to proceed with the next question from Leaf and Let Grow. Plant prices are dropping and the elbow price remaining the same. What can you say about that? Personally, I think that the elbow price has always been up there since probably like 2018. And I guess at this point, a lot of people have an elbow, or we're talking about the Monstera elbow in this case. I guess it's just a matter of people still wanting to buy it at that price range, despite having a lot of options these days. Like they're so easy to propagate. I have a few propagating right now, but I'm not selling them off because I plan to make a fuller plant. But I see how it does tend to stay or on that certain price range because people still buy it, to be honest.
So I think
it actually got worse where people bought wet sticks.
Yeah. So, you and I started our plant journey around the same time. So we've seen the prices from where they were to where they really were and then where they're going now.
Yes.
And a lot of it has to do with how much the consumer is willing to pay for it, right? So let's talk Hoyas, for example. When Sai and I first started collecting Hoyas, you could find 6-inch pots full or mature plants for, I want to say like $30, $40, $50 at most.
Yeah.
But then as the popularity increased, the demand increased. So the first bump in prices, in my opinion, right, and I'm not an economist here, but the first bump in price was that demand. Since there was a higher demand and there wasn't as much supply, it was okay for those prices to go up. But then what ended up happening is that, from my observations, is that the plants got smaller, were sold more plentiful, but also at a much steeper price to meet the demand, right? And so then the norm became paying $60 to $200 for a cup, a little gargling, little cup, like a 2-ounce cup of a rooted stem. Maybe not even a full plant. It's just a couple nodes. And that has now become the norm. And, when the hype is so big and everybody just wants it, it's like, okay, yeah, let me get it. Whatever, that's the price. People just assume that that's the regular price. Or it's like, I've actually stopped buying Hoyas because of that. Like, I know how much Hoyas used to sell for, and I refuse to pay $75 for a 2-node cutting. Like, I'm okay not getting that splashy Hoya. You know what I mean? So then you go into the next phase of this cycle, right? And so then people assume that it's okay to buy them at that price, and that becomes a norm. And so the price remain at that high price point. And then people start realizing, oh, maybe that's expensive, or everybody has the plant that they want now, so nobody's buying. So the market's saturated with all of these tiny plants for super expensive. And so then you start seeing, and we were just talking about this, prices start to dwindle down a little bit. Not by much, definitely not 2018 prices, but you see slight decreases in the prices, which is still above my threshold. I can't buy them at that price point. But that's kind of where we're at right now, is that, whether it's because everybody's starting to go back to work and they're not at home taking care of all these plants anymore, or everyone has crossed off so much on their wish list that there's not this huge desire for it, or people are just sick and tired of paying those high prices, we're going to start to see, I think, those prices to, maybe continue going down, and probably not as low as it used to be, but, that's the thing. And as far as albos are concerned, I don't know why let me tell you, the Albo twins, when my husband got those for me as a birthday present, cost less than $100 each. So for one plant, it was less than $100, including express shipping. And this was from a very big grower. Fast forward a year later, that price had doubled for the same size plant. Fast forward to now, that plant is now auctioned well above $500 for the same size plant. And I don't expect it to go down anytime soon, because people just don't want to sell theirs. Like I have the Albo twins, and then I have one other one, I think. Yeah. But I have no desire to sell it. Like, I get asked all the time, oh, can I buy a cutting? And I'm like, no, I don't want to. One is that I don't want to feed into like the high prices, right? Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, well, if I sold this, I get well over $500 for it. But do I really want to feed into that? No. Do I really want to cut my plant either? No. You're a lot braver than I am. Like, you cut Becky down, but now you have a forest, so it was worth it. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, yeah, because it was touching the ceiling, so I just had to do it. But no cutting sold. I just wanted to keep it to myself.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe albos will one day be like pileas. Pilea peperomioides was going for well over 100 when they first hit the market, and now you can find them for $16.99 at Lowe's for a 6-inch full pot of them. So, They can happen.
Oh, and some groceries even have them at like $7.99, I think.
Yeah. So just
insane.
Be patient, guys. It will. It may get there.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple wish list plants that I like. I keep thinking that with. Like, I keep hoping that Anthurium luxurians will go down from its $500 pedestal. So we'll see. Maybe in 5 years. It was Pilea peperomoioides. I know, Pilea, exactly. Everybody has them now. I had quite a few and then I got rid of them all. Okay, so here's one. The bored wife wants to know, favorite online plant store, importing, eBay, plant groups. Go.
Favorite online plant store? Well, I don't have a favorite because for me, the way that it works is if I want a plant, I will Google and search the entire World Wide Web. And regardless if I find that on Etsy, on eBay, a local plant store, online plant store, so I don't really patronize one plant store, but the ones that have stayed very affordable, good price range, and I'm sure you would agree to this, Land of Alice. Really good quality plants. I've always bought from her, especially when I see some wish list plants.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time because I'm just an eBay, Google kind of person, and I'd even scour the entire internet. Favorite importing, yeah, that's the same principle that applies to importing, eBay. I don't have any favorite plant groups because as much as possible, I stay away from Facebook, to be honest, because the groups can get so toxic. The market culture over there is also so different. Like, it's not the same anymore. I mean, I guess some things have changed through the years, and it's not an environment that I want to be in anymore. I used to post and share my plants a lot, but these days I won't even bother. And I just try to keep that within Instagram.
Yeah, I'm the same way. As far as like plant groups go, I just don't have the patience or the time to tag along on these purges. And also I've seen just a lot of like scammers on Facebook. So I don't like to open myself up to that type of vulnerability. eBay, I haven't bought anything from eBay actually. I'm still too chicken.
Wow, good for you. Don't start. Don't start.
No. Importing, I have imported on my own once. And that was via a referral from a trusted source. They had recommended this farm. And then I have co-imported with you. And again, it was because you had recommended, they were good. It was Giro Maggi out in Italy. And, the biggest thing for me is that I will not import unless everything is legally sound. So PhytoCert and all the documentation that requires to enter the US is like step one for me. I won't even look at the catalog if it says like no PhytoCert. I'm like, not going to do it. Favorite online plant store, I have to agree, Land of Alice has maintained such great prices despite the craze and like the increase in plant love from other fellow plantees. So I'm definitely a big fan of Land of Alice. And then historically, just because I say historically because I don't really buy a lot anymore, the Victorian Atlanta is one of my favorites. Oh, yeah. They always have really great options for like unique and unusual plants. And then Arium. I'm a huge fan of Arium. They get a lot of really great stuff and their stuff goes by, like they go pretty quickly too. So yeah, those are my favorites. But as with everything, just do your research before you make any purchase. We'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk negatively about any other, about businesses. Just all positivity here. Let's do that. So those are our favorites. My favorites.
Yes.
What's next, Sai? Oh, actually, here, I think this is a smooth
They
transition.
also talked
Online
about,
versus,
since we touched about importing, they're asking about acclimation process from Riza_828. Oh,
acclimation
and
process.
actually, that would, yeah.
That's fine. So when I buy a lot of my plants online, or not, yeah, online, like mail order stuff. There aren't any resources here. I don't live in Florida where I can just go to my backyard and find a huge monstera growing.
In my backyard and find an awesome philodendron or Anthurium specimen, I wish.
Right, yeah. It just doesn't happen for us in the rest of America. But, you know, part of the acclimation process is just, the biggest thing is just having a designated spot for that particular plant. Not all plants, but that particular plant and what it needs. And just allowing it to recover and acclimate in that one spot. So you guys can see here, I've got some Ampheriums over here that were recent acquisition. And I don't have them right up against the windows. I don't have them underneath a grow light because they don't need super bright light. They need bright and direct. And there's spots that they're in now provide that with my west-facing windows. I have the bagged, just so that I can increase the immediate humidity. Because I don't like to use humidifiers in the home. I don't need it, technically. Our humidity is actually really great here. But coming from Florida, you know, where the humidity is rainforest, compared to here, which is normal in my opinion, it's quite a shock for them, and it's quite the difference. So what I like to do is I just loosely bag them. You can see it's not enclosed completely. And I just let them stay like this for a little while. They get enough air circulation, and also the transition to ambient humidity is a lot easier, in my opinion, and in my growing condition. So yeah, they've responded really well to this. I've gotten new roots come out from the top and dig their way into the pond. I've gotten new leaves. So this one right here is new.
Yeah, that's the new leaf.
So, look at that. Yeah. It's so, like, it's not even hardened off yet, so it's going to be a good one.
Gonna be a big.
So, you know, that's what I do. Sai, what do you do for acclimating your plants, your new
Well, for me, because I import quite often. If I get them bare root, I try to hydrate them first by dunking them in a nutrient-rich solution. But you have to be careful because sometimes I did burn some roots already because, you know, they were crispy and dry, and then just oversaturating them with nutrients is too much. So these days I prefer just like purified water or just tap water would do. And also, like, if they came in a box and got stuck there for a few days, I would slowly transition them into brighter indirect light. So, you know, moving them closer to a grow light or window through, I mean, probably within a week or so. And what else? Like, I try to repot them after a few days when I'm sure, like, the roots haven't rotted in transit. So, yeah, that's what my normal acclimation process is. And to answer Mr. Capillary Action, I also imported from Equagenera. I think they've always stayed on that certain price point, so which I still like. I'm actually expecting a package from them next month.
Me too.
And personally, all my importing experience is just good, but I've heard how others were not satisfied with their imports. I guess it's just like everything else, there is a hit and miss. Fortunately for me, it's mostly hits. And with that price point, I don't mind taking the risk, you know? Yeah. Compared to like probably paying 4 or 5 times more. Plus, if on top of that, if it would have been an auction or something, I mean, I guess the chances are better with Equa. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Equagenera. Especially since they kind of changed their business model before. Like, if you were ordering from the Equagenera website, you would have to meet them at an orchid show or an aroid show to pick up your plants. But because of COVID in 2020, they canceled all that. So they actually they took care of all of the import process and started sending things directly to their grow farm in Florida. And from there, Florida then forwards it off to your home address, which I'm a really big fan of. Like Sai, my experience has always been really good with Equigenera, and I understand that anytime you order a plant, regardless of who it's from, there's always a risk for damage. There's always a risk for delay. But like Sai said, at their price point, I'm okay with that. I will put in the work to recover a plant because it's just so good. The prices are so good.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a good segue into the next question, which is musical plant girl asking online versus in-person plant shopping pros and cons. So the biggest pro, I think, to in-person plant shopping is that you get to select the exact plant that you want to take home, and you get to inspect it, and you just, you know, it's you and the plant. That's it. Whereas when you're ordering online, you get an image of an example of what that plant may look like and the size that it may look like. But again, that goes back to, like, you know, researching who your sellers are and knowing that what they show online is a pretty close representation of what they'll actually sell you. It'll never be exact, but there are businesses who are just really good at showing that, you know, that representation, which I think is great. And then cons is just paying the shipping fee. Nobody wants to pay for shipping, but yeah, it is what it is. Like I think that's my biggest con for online plant shopping, shipping. So. You know.
Oh, another con, I think, is because the plants would get boxed, some of them could get damaged, and sometimes it would cause them to go on dormancy or, you know, take a while to go back to their senses and put out new growth.
Yeah. Ivan asked, how do you match your nails to plant family palettes? Okay, you guys, my nails. So one day Ivan had dared me, or he said, he challenged me to match my nails to a plant. He was like, oh, I want your nails to look like that plant next. And I was like, challenge accepted. And I don't want to go off on a complete tangent on here, but the plant products, or not the plant, the nail products that I use now really make that very easy for me to do. So if you guys want to know more about how I do my nails and how I get these designs with minimal effort, send me a DM and we can discuss it off on the side. But it's great. It's amazing. And I think anybody who likes to do their nails, male, female, whatever, they're good. And the price point's really great too. So come talk to me. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Slide into KCM. Well, thank you, Denise, for buying a badge too.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to go through, we have questions here. So hold on one second. Okay, so I'm going to.
Sticker.
Oh, darn. Okay, so I can't show these on the screen, but I will read them. The first one is from Plant Fairy Brit, and it says here, my marble pothos hasn't done anything since I got it a few months back. I really want it to trail like all my other pothos. I can't see the rest of it. So if it's a growth question, I think it's just a light issue.
I think it was a tip question. Like, what are your tips?
Oh, what are my tips for that? Is that what it was? I say first check the roots. That's always the first go-to when you're kind of, you know, wondering why a plant has stalled or why it doesn't look the way you want it to. Thank you, Angie. But check the roots, check the health of the root zone, and just make sure that everything looks the way they should. If the roots are turgid, then they should be good to go. If not, then, you know, do a little bit of root pruning, get rid of anything that just doesn't look good, it doesn't look right. And then put it in a spot that is the right spot for that plant. Usually if roots are good, then it's a light issue. And maybe not so much an issue, but it may just not be receiving enough light. But definitely don't go from like dark windowless bathroom to bright south-facing window. Like you've got to work your way over there. But epiprenums, pothos are very easy to care for. You just have to make sure you stay on top of the watering and just giving it enough light, especially if it's a variegated kind. I struggle with my soil-grown epiprenum Orium Marble Queen because I can't keep up with the watering. And I don't know when to water it and like until it's too late. And I don't like that. Mm-hmm. I don't like that at all. I actually owe you guys a comparison of my passive hydro grown Marble Queen and my soil grown one. I have a soil grown one because I've been lazy and I just haven't.
You just haven't had the chance to do it or the motivation.
Exactly. It's a lot of work because there's a lot of plants in that 6-inch hanger. So, you know, I just have to dedicate a lot of time to do it. But just looking at them side by side, my passive hydro one grows a lot stronger for me because it's never thirsty to the point where it's starting to wilt. It always has like a controlled level of nutrients and water. And that one grows on a north-facing window. The soil one grows on an east-facing window. And let me tell you, like the growth on the passive hydro one is just a lot stronger. So, you know, do you have any other tips you wanted to add for that?
No, because mine, although not in organic media, I think that's in coco coir. They're in self-watering planters. And once I converted them and, you know, the watering is regular, controlled, it did better because like when my pothos are trailing from the, you know, the kitchen ledge, I barely look at them. And sometimes when it's already too late, you know, you would see some damage on the stems, like some of the leaves dried up too much or others got oversaturated on a specific corner because they would sit on cash pots. So yeah, definitely check the roots. And I honestly think like self-watering is the way to go if you don't want to deal with like sticking your finger in your pot.
I am 100% here for self-watering pots. I think I have no experience using them with organic media, but I know it can be done. I don't use organic media, so I don't really know, and I can't speak on that. But with Lecka and with Pond, oh my gosh, water management is almost non-existent for me. Like to me, water management is just checking my indicators and topping off. That's it. Like I don't need to stick my finger in there. I don't need to guess. I don't need to wait for my plants to be wilted. So no, my fingers were not meant to stick, and I don't. Jeez, daddy long leaves. All right, the next question we have is, I want to move my 3 pothos plants out of dirt. Do you recommend Pond or Lekka? I say Lekka for that because that's what I have mine in, and it's so much easier. Also, Lekka is a lot cheaper. So if it can go in Lekka, I say go in Lekka. And the roots grow very aggressively. So you don't need, you don't need Pond for anything really, but I prefer Pond for certain stuff. But I say Lekka. Go with Lekka on that one. Best advice for moving a Hoya to Lekka. Oh no, we got that one already. Where do you get cute cash pose for your plastic cups and reused takeout containers? We talked a little about this last week, right?
Yeah.
Check out that episode. We shared a lot of great ideas on where to get cute cash pose, cash pot, outer pots.
However you want to say it. Yeah.
Yes.
As long as we know we're referring to the same thing.
Exactly. I say reservoir, you say reservoir.
Reservoir. Tomato, you know.
Exactly. Vase, vase. I say vase.
I still say vase.
You say vase? Maybe I'm just my art thing. That's all it is. For your Hoyas and semi-hydro, do you let the Lekka reservoir dry out completely for a few days? No. I don't. I like to maintain my water reservoirs at the 1/3 media height line, or wherever my indicator says max. I'll let it drop down, right, just so that I can kind of gauge how long it takes for it to drink that up. But I don't deliberately allow it to dry out, because these roots are not like soil roots, and they're not conditioned the same way soil roots are. There's a lot more air around these roots than there are around soil roots. So if you allow it to dry to the point where it's bone dry, you are now compromising those roots. And when you rehydrate them, you risk them rotting. So is it okay if they dry out? Yes, it will be fine, but do I do it deliberately all the time? No, it's more just like if real life, you know, requires my attention over plants, then it is what it is. What say you, Sai? Pawn Star. Let's see here. The next one. When to cut my ugly Birkin? Do you know?
Okay, come on.
When do we cut an ugly
Sorry,
Birkin?
had to let the kitty out.
Oh. Yeah, so our next question was when to cut an ugly Birkin.
I did have an ugly Birkin for a while, because it had, what was that? Like, rust.
Rust. Oh, yeah.
What was that in past? Yeah, the orange thingy on the leaves. So I did have ugly
Rust.
Birkins for a while, but I waited until new, or fungus something. Rust. Fungus? Yeah. Is that a thing? Yeah. So
I think so.
Yeah. So they had like cosmetic ugliness on the leaves, not technically like just, you know. So I had to like wait out until new leaves were more prominent, and I just let the old ones just fall. If not, I can cut them off. But I wasn't really that bothered. It wasn't that bad. But I do have like a lot of cosmetic problems with my plant. I would usually trim the leaves. Like on this elbow, I trim the brown edges. So it doesn't really do anything to the plant. But sometimes if the browns are more than the variegation, you know, you'd be bothered as well. So I just trim it and then wait for another leaf to get the attention.
So I have a Birkin that
but yeah, I would
like
definitely
a tree now. Like the lower stem looks just like a bare trunk. And I've kind of considered just kind of chopping it there and then rooting that top cutting, and then that lower stump that's left over it'll start to grow again, because there's definitely a lot of nodes there. So if it's really bothering you, I'd say just go ahead and propagate it. And then it'll be good, and then you'll have two Birkins.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because it makes sense because the Birkins don't have like fenestrated leaves anyway. So regardless if it's like juvenile or mature, the leaf shape is the same. So you won't really like know the difference. Like, oh, this is just a new sprout from the old stem. You know what I mean? Unlike if you chop your monstera, like if it was already putting out more matured leaves and you suddenly chop it, the new growth that will emerge from that chopping is a baby pothos-like one.
All right, so that's all the questions that we have in the thought bubble. I saw one on here. Ivan wants to know, what's your least favorite plant in your collection?
Right now, I would say like right now, because it depends on what time it is on in the year, you know, when they're not looking their best. For a while it was,
and I'm trying to figure out what's my least favorite.
Like I'm trying to look for something that's already here so I could at least show you why it's not my favorite anymore.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, you keep looking. I'll talk. You guys know I can talk forever.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Right now, one of my least favorite plants that I'm growing is my Stephania
Saffrantha.
Yeah. Only because it went to sleep. And so now it's just a dirty potato, and I'm like, meh. Like, wake up.
Oh, yours was so full of leaves, but yeah, I'm afraid that'll happen to mine too.
See,
For a while.
Twinkly potato. So that's it. Uh-oh. Sai is frozen.
Okay, so for a while, people will probably. Yeah, I can hear you. Your screen is frozen. Okay, you're back. So for a while, my least favorite plant is my pink princess because it went through a lot. Fine, like I had 2 pots before, it was in soil, and then it rotted. I transferred it in Lecka, it didn't do so well. I transferred it back in soil. I transferred it in pond. It was not doing okay in pond still, but I found out that the stems were practically rotting at the bottom. And then I had to root it back in water. And then now it's doing okay in pond. And that's why I just hated it. It was being difficult. And it could probably feel like I wasn't that interested on her anymore. But now, I mean, she's trying to make up for it. Looks like there's gonna be a new pink leaf that's emerging.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I lost my love for my pink princess for a while. I just wanted to keep the plant there because I got it for like when it was cheaper. So, you know, I might change my mind, and I think like it's wanting or it's doing something for me to change my mind and make her my favorite again. So yeah, that answered the
I
question.
can totally relate to that. I don't know if I would go as far as saying that I don't like my pink prince, or it's like it's a least favorite, but it's one that I don't care about as much. And I think part of that is because I got mine for $24. So I'm like, like I don't really, you know, I don't have to put that much effort into it, I guess. And I've said this before, I think pink princesses are really ugly, like overall. I think they have a really ugly growth pattern, but leaves individually are gorgeous. So I wish that, you know, it was, it's a little more comprehensive, but yeah, I've chopped mine up so many times because I'm just like, oh, you're ugly. I'll make more. And they root really easily for me. So, so we did get another question in, and it was, what's your opinion on wet sticks? That's a very good question.
Did I buy a wet stick ever? No. But did my plants got reduced to a wet stick status? Yeah. But I would never think of selling them to someone when they're reduced to that status.
No.
I mean, I'm not, well, my opinion about this is I'm not one to judge with what people would do with their money or how they would want to acquire plants. Personally, I just don't feel like it's worth buying if it's a wet stick. Especially if I was like how I was like probably 3 years ago, very impulsive and not that knowledgeable or at least well experienced with the plants that I care for now, it would have died in a month or so. So if it's not something that you are confident on buying, or if it's not something that you're at least experienced, I won't suggest. But if that's your only option and it's still cheaper than a full plant, then go for it. It's your money. No judgment.
Yeah, I agree. I've never bought a wet stick. Have I ended up with them? Yes, totally. It happens, but no. Sai knows this, but I'm very particular with how I acquire plants and how I spend money for plants. I'm very, very strict on that, and wet sticks does not make the criteria. Not for the price points, anyways. Is Lekka
between the two of us, I'm most likely to buy a wet stick.
I think so, yeah.
Not you.
Yeah. So Angie asked, is Lekka high maintenance? No, it's not at all. I think it's super low maintenance, as long as you do the work up front. And so, you know, that's making sure your roots are cleaned, you're doing those flushes. But Lekka, it's so easy. It's so easy. If you spill it like in the shower, you don't have to worry about clogging your drain. You just pick up the balls and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about like a $200 plumber coming in to unclog that. I'm a big fan of Lekka, and I think for the price point, it's such a great option if you are comfortable with passive hydro growing, right? So you have to be comfortable with that concept and just understand that really well. I'm the last person to say you have to grow in passive hydro and it's the right thing to do and it's the only way to go. No, because I don't believe that at all. Does it work for me? Totally. Do I love it? Yes. And am I here to, convince everyone to try it, at least with one plant? Sure. Like if you're in the mood for an experiment, totally do it. But I don't believe that it's the only right way to do it. So yeah, pick up your balls and wash them, guys. Come on. Let's do it.
And another thing I like about Lecka and Pon is even if you spill your plant and it gets everywhere, like the moment that you put those substrate back, it doesn't really look like you did something. Unlike with soil, like when soil gets spilled, like you would see like, oh my God, the roots got messed up, like it's probably like the way that they are shaped. They could adapt better to your plant, even if you drop your balls or don't wash them.
Get all over you.
Okay,
Get all that
anyone
organic
else?
stuff off. All right, you guys, do you have any more questions for us? This is fun. And you guys, I'm trying really hard not to get distracted in the comment section because this comment section is like
on fire.
You guys are wild over here. I love it. You guys have your own party going on without us. Love it. I feel like an outsider, but it's so fun. Like, you guys are hilarious. Just don't bleach your balls. Yeah, don't bleach your balls. Don't do that. Unless you can really clean them afterwards. But, sanitizing balls. Boil them. I've heard of people using the pressure cooker. If you have a spare pressure cooker sitting around, go for it. But yeah, I boil balls. That's it. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun with you guys, and we really appreciate this interaction.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Like, we really, really appreciate you guys. So I hope everybody has a fun weekend. Try and get some sleep. I know that our schedules are opposite for the Olympics, but I don't know. I mean, I'm going to be glued to the TV. Yeah. When does gymnastics start? Do we know the schedule yet?
I think it's on
They're
the
usually
25th.
right in the middle, aren't they? 25th for gymnastics?
Yeah. I was.
Okay.
I'm not so sure. I didn't look up the schedule, but I was watching practice shots or practice videos already, and promising gold for Team USA.
Yay! All right, you guys. Good night, and we will see you next week. Thanks again, guys.
Good night. Thank you.